Well, hello, and happy Wednesday to you. Welcome to the Unboring Wedding Show. It is time to talk weddings in 2025. This topic is relevant to you whether you are a first timer just about to officiate a wedding in 2025 for a friend or a relative. Or, of course, if you are a pro, whether you're a member of Unboring Wedding Academy or the Unboring Wedding community or not, and you are just thinking, how do I become a top wedding officiant? What are the qualities? What do I need to do? What do I need to be to show up and be one of the very best that anyone has ever seen? Well, I have thought about it, and essentially, the way that I thought about it was, how did I build my officiating practice in Toronto? How was I able to start essentially from nothing? And many of you know my stories, not even liking doing weddings, really. I was a minister, congregational pastor. I resigned from that, realizing it wasn't for me just after a few years. And then thinking, what marketable skills do I have? And then I realized I actually think that I could enjoy doing weddings if I continue to lean in and make them really fun for the couple, provide that experience that I know lies below the surface and has a lot of potential. And so really I had to get my act together and figure out if I'm really going to make a go at this, pay the rent, buy some groceries, etc. What qualities do I need? What skills do I need? And of course, when you're an entrepreneur, you want to think, what is it that people want, right? You need to be providing a solution. Talk a lot about this. Business is providing a solution, solving a problem for people. And when you can do that, then you're onto something. You'll be approached by more people to help solve their problem, give you money in exchange. And then you have a business, and you do that really well, and you will find great success. And so I want to share with you what in 2025 are the qualities of a top wedding officiant. And we're going to define top, maybe. I don't want this to be a game of semantics. But when we say top wedding officiant, and when I say I was one of the top wedding officiants in Toronto, what do we mean by that? You got to define your own success. But first, I just want to say hello to everyone in the chat joining today. I believe Sabrina and Jeff and Mike were among the very first here. So welcome. I'm so thrilled you're here. Please, if you are joining, you are free to lurk. No problem at all. You can watch without ever saying you're here. But as you know, if you have joined us in other weeks, I love saying hello. I love knowing who's here. I can always see exactly how many people are watching. And then, if you don't, I'll never know who you are exactly, but I'd love for you to say just hello in the chat. Let us know that you're here, where you're watching from, and maybe in 2025, are you officiating one wedding for the first time, or are you a pro who's looking for more? What brings you here today to so generously share your time with me and with everyone else here in the chat to talk weddings, to talk officiating? What is it that you're hoping for in terms of becoming that top wedding officiant? Is it a one-off for a friend or relative, or are you thinking of going pro? Either way, this is going to be relevant to you. So thank you for being here. I do want to just continue to say hello to everybody else I've seen. Again, I saw Mike, Jeff, and Sabrina here really early. And there's quite a conversation going. I have to scroll down quite a bit here because the three of you were really chatting away, saying hello, talking about the weather, which I love. Karen agrees. It is cold in Florida. That's all relative. I did say that I went for a half-hour run today in minus 15 Celsius. So, it's not as extreme in Fahrenheit this morning. And so it was brisk this morning. It was nice and crisp. But I have decided not to be a fair weather runner anymore in 2025. I've mentioned this before that I am typically a spring to fall runner, and I've decided that's no way to keep the old ticker going. So I bought all kinds of warm weather gear and cold weather gear to keep me warm, and now running right through January, February, March. That is the goal. It's working. It's working out. So if you start to see a majorly weathered, chapped area right around here on my face, you'll know why. You'll just say, Mark, wow, that cold wind is really taking a toll on your skin. Got to moisturize a bit more. Jane is here. Good to see you, Jane. And it is very cold, North Carolina. Yeah, I read in the media there that the middle of the U.S. from east to west, from west to east, got quite the weather. And so hopefully you're all doing well, keeping warm. Good to see so many members of Unboring Wedding Academy here today. And Jane is already planning wedding MBA. There you go, Mike. I think I think Mike put Jane up to that, because we have a running joke here on the Unboring Wedding Show, and really anytime I go live, that I love going to Vegas every year in November, meeting you in person, speaking and exhibiting, and going with my wife. It is an amazing time, one of the highlights of my year. So I tend to mention it. But this, come on, I was put up to this when Jane is asking, where is everyone staying? And so Jane's looking at the Sahara. Glad to hear you're going this year, Jane. I hope to get to buy everyone dinner once again. I always buy members of Unboring Wedding Academy dinner. And my wife and I always stay at the Westgate. And so that's where we're staying. As you know, Jane, I believe you stayed there last time, but you were looking at other venues this year. That's cool, but I will see you there. Hello, John. Good to see you. And Kristen is here. Hello to you. Again, I'd love to see you. Anyone joining us, just say if it is your first wedding coming up, or if you've done many. And of course, if it's your first time saying hello here, please do. I will let you know, because some people say I want to comment, but I can't. Please sign in to YouTube, your Google account, whatever that is, and then go over to YouTube. And when you're signed in, you will be able to leave a comment. So some people say I didn't see the comment box. That's because you have to be signed in through an app, through a browser. Sign into Google, then you can chat away with the rest of these wonderful people here. Okay, let's see. Mike is going to be on a cruise during Wedding MBA. Well, I'm sad that I won't get to meet you, but you won't exactly be suffering. I will say that the Orlando event, the wedding show that was supposed to happen in Orlando, was just full on canceled. And, I had trepidation around it, hadn't committed to it. Just it didn't seem everything that it was saying it was, and I was confused by the website, because I went into the itinerary and I saw names on there that hadn't committed, and names of people that didn't match the company. And I think, yeah, I'm not going to say anything else, but I was hoping that it would be a success. But apparently it's not happening this year, unfortunately. So I won't make it to Orlando in March. And so, yes, Karen says I should just visit. I should just visit anywhere, and a free place to stay with Karen. Okay, this is a game changer. All right, we'll talk. We'll talk. Hello, Tamara. Good to see you, Tamara from Chicago. It's probably chilly there, right? It's chilly in the Windy City. The wind here is brutal, so in the Windy City, it must be very, very windy and cold. April, good to see you here. Cantor Mark is here, and he says a top officiant listens to Unboring Wedding Officiant show as Rome burns. Well, okay, that's I don't know what you mean by Rome burning, but I will say it's an interesting time to be Canadian right now if you're reading the news at all, as many of you, your president-elect talks about kind of taking over Canada. That I don't want to get political here, but that is, and that's not going to make this very evergreen. But it is really something for Canadians up here to see a president in the United States talking about using force, economic, maybe otherwise, to cause us to join you. And so, if you are Canadian, you've heard this because that's all that's being discussed up here, and I definitely have an opinion about it. But we are not here to talk about. That's a different show that I don't have. We are here to talk about weddings. So good to see you here. Whatever you mean by Rome burning, hopefully your 2025 sees all flames extinguished. Right? That is the goal. Claire, good to see you. Uh, and you say you hope this is the year to officiate your first wedding. Claire, yes, high five, fist bump. I'm so glad you're here. You're in the right place. And today, again, I want to talk about the qualities that will help you get there. Yes, Cantor Mark says, listen to the Unboring Wedding Officiant show. I believe Unboring Wedding Academy, of course, is the process that you need, the nitty gritty nuts and bolts for how to officiate and create and conduct the best ceremony that anyone's ever seen. But today I want to talk about those overarching qualities that will stay with you and resonate with people as you learn and craft a really great ceremony. So glad to see you here. Sabrina says, hello, lurkers. And we do encourage lurking if you are too shy to say hello, or if you're driving, keep your hands on the wheel, etc. Samuel is here. Great to see you. This is where I'm starting to feel like I'm never going to catch up with all the comments going by, and I'll never get to the bottom of this, so I should probably just get started. Mike, you are here, first-timer chaplain, asked a week ago to a wedding on the 25th of this month in Cold, Florida. Good to see you. And Mike, I know you are a new member of Unboring Wedding Academy, so a super huge welcome to you. And we ironed out that your name is Mike and all that stuff. So I'm super thrilled you're here on the show as well. Good to say hello to you. And Karen says, thanks to Mark and his program, I went pro in 2024. I got 5 weddings booked so far 2025. Definitely more to come. Yes, indeed. I just had a chemistry check with a couple yesterday. I basically booked a wedding per week for 2025 over the last few weeks. And so that feels really great. The reason why I'm not booked for 2025 is, as many of you know, I ran for office and I lost. But I was really running for a third party. But I didn't book weddings because I thought, what if I win? I'll have to go to the legislature and I'll have a really busy life. So when I lost in late October, I was able to kind of throw the doors open and say, all right, I'm booking for 2025, and it is happening. So again, we'll talk a bit today about the qualities of a top officiant that will hopefully continue to help people get booked. But I know Karen is a very high quality officiant, and it was good to meet her in Vegas, and thanks for being a member. Reverend Michael is here. Hello from Florida. Lots of Floridians here. I love it. It's so good to see you. And that's a big hello to Reverend Michael from Florida again. And Coriel is here. Good to see you. Hopefully I'm saying your name right. Okay, so like I say, we got to... Jillian is here in Ottawa. Good to see you. My hometown of Ottawa. Went to Ottawa U. And so always love seeing when you drop in here. Another Canadian from Holland Landing, Ontario. Good to see you. And Claire is also Canadian. I did not know that. Oh, that's awesome. So good to see you. All right. So, Eric, nice to see you. Mark and Unboring Wedding folks. And Sabrina's got 6 weddings booked so far for 2025. Want more? Yes. Carol wants me to go ahead and preach. Anyway, I'll preach about weddings, okay? There's other venues for other things. So good to see you here. Samuel says, Unboring Wedding taught me everything I needed and more for my first wedding 2 years ago. Awesome. Now I've started a business and booking weddings for summer 2025. Very blessed. Makes my day, Samuel. I love hearing that. And that's one of the reasons why I love getting up on Wednesdays and saying, I get to come in and check in with you and see what's going on live. And seeing comments like that is amazing, especially as we launch into 2025. On our members-only office hours, on the 31st, New Year's Eve, I shared with a lot of you how I was about to go away on a retreat with my wife. As we do every single year, we go away for the weekend, just 2 hours away. Kids go with grandma, and we orient ourselves on the new year. I set goals for my business. We set personal goals for friendships, marriage, family life, all that stuff. And so I would encourage you to, anybody who wants to have a result like Samuel, you have to work towards it. You have to be intentional. You have to lean forward and keep going in a certain direction. And I just encourage members, just don't live the unexamined life, whether that's personally, whether that's business, goals, professionally. Just sit down in whatever way is right for you. Some people call it resolutions, some people call it goals. My wife and I go on retreat, and we kind of go through a word of the year exercise that I talked about in those office hours. And it really helps. It really helps. And I feel so. We did that last weekend. I just got in, and I want to be a top. I want to have the qualities of a top wedding officiant in 2025 for sure, as well as I continue to look forward to working with so many great couples. Okay, so Gretchen is here. First wedding for your bestie in March. Absolutely love seeing you here, and thrilled that you've dropped in. Opie is here, trying to stay warm in New York. Hopefully, you can be successful. All right, that's as much as I'm going to get to for now in the chat, because this whole thing, yes, Jeff, reflection, very good. Just as I said, that's as much as I'm going to get through. I saw the word reflection in capital letters. Reflect, examine your life. And decide what direction you're going to orient yourself in this year. So, as I said, there's five. I'd love for you to throw a word in the chat. What is one quality? I have five, and we've had this fun guessing game before. Feel free to guess all five. But what is one quality that you think a top wedding officiant needs to have? And while you're thinking about that, let me tell you what I mean by top, because I do believe it's important to define success, and that is an exercise in itself. You don't want to just say, I want to be successful and have no idea what that means. Does that mean a certain number of weddings? Does that mean a certain amount of money? Does that mean just doing one wedding for your friend, as we see here with some folks in the chat, and just doing absolutely amazing for your couple? Is there specific feedback you are hoping for from your couple when you officiate that wedding? Is there a certain feeling you are going for from yourself or from the guests in your couple? That kind of thing. So it's important, I think, friends, to say, what does success look like? What does even a top wedding officiant mean? So for me, as I said, I defined that when I was setting out to be a wedding officiant in Toronto. First of all, I might have thought, well, there's no way I'm going to be a top officiant in Toronto. That is what happened, but it feels like a pretty big, hairy, audacious goal, a BHAG, as we say, to set out on such an amazing city like Toronto. Lots of wedding officiants. And I know I have friends here like John. I'm your wedding guy, and I've got colleagues and members of Unboring Wedding Academy who are in Toronto doing their thing. A lot of the time, I wish I could still be in there with you, but I got a lovely little, coastal Atlantic Canada thing going on here. But for me, being a top officiant just meant being highly sought after, being regarded as having that level of premium excellence. That's really, really important to me. And I just wanted that dependability and that reliability that vendors, couples, anybody could refer me and recommend me and know that when they do that, I'm going to provide the same level of service and care for the person that I was referred to as that person saw when they first encountered me, whether it was at a wedding or a vendor, seeing how I treated their couple, et cetera, et cetera. So for me, being a top wedding officiant meant consistent level of service that people could freely refer me and recommend me. That's why I talk so much in the pro course as well, but on here about how important it is to have those referral streams, right? People referring you, whether it's couples or vendors, or you want multiple streams of referrers coming in so that you can get booked up if that's what you're looking for. Again, if it's your first time and you're just doing one, that's not what being a top wedding officiant means to you. I do love in the Unboring Wedding Academy that so many people take the course, take the training. They say, I'm only going to be one and done. And then, unfortunately for them, unfortunately, if they don't want to do it again, they ace it, they crush it. People ask them at the reception to officiate their wedding or their kid's wedding, and then they do that one, second one, third one. Every wedding they do, they're getting asked 2 or 3 more times. Then you have this accidental side hustle, and I love that. Again, it delights me that I wreck so many of your lives when you're pretty sure I just want to do one. Well, it's going to be hard for you to just do one when you are a top wedding officiant that anyone's ever seen. And that's really what the course provides. But what are the qualities? Let's get into it. The first one, I love seeing some of the answers here. And I'm reticent to say mine is not an exhaustive list, but I'm going to take your cues and see if I can build them in to my answers. Confidence, honesty, connection, inclusive, open, passionate, personable, caring. Jane went for all 5. Trustworthy, reliable, organized, communicative, professional, detail-oriented, Opie says. That's amazing. Great leadership, great listener, teacher, guide, interpersonal communication. That is, Lisa says professional. So great. Hi, Lisa, by the way. Good to see you. Oh, and Forever Incredible is here. Carla, nice to see you. The first one, drum roll, please, that I would say is, and I did see it in the chat there, organized. A top wedding officiant needs to be organized. I put this at the beginning of all others, and I don't know if all of them are, it's definitely not in order of importance. I'm not listing down or up or building up to anything. But organized, I would say, that came to mind first because, and you'll see my second one, it will complement that nicely. Before you jump into the fray, okay, so Gretchen, for example, if it's your first wedding, or somebody like many of the professionals here, the Carlas, the Janes, the Mikes, who have officiated many weddings or several weddings, before you get into the ceremony process with your couple, or especially business where you hope to engage with many, many couples, it is important to be organized. So you need to have the plan laid out in front of you. And I did see the word guide here, and I love that. You don't need to be a super expert. All you need to do, I heard this years and years ago when I was starting out as, an English lit guy, a history guy, a theology and philosophy guy. How could I do business? How can I purport to get online and help people and serve people and teach people? Well, I loved hearing this, and it was a great relief. You only have to be a few steps ahead of the person that you are leading when you are a guide. Okay, that's just the minimum. You can be much more than that, but don't count yourself out as a potential guide or teacher, as somebody else said here too, a teacher, a listener, when you are not all knowing. Okay, none of us is all knowing. I'm learning more and more from this amazing community and elsewhere all the time. And so really you just have to be a few steps ahead, but you should have a path laid out. I don't like using that word should. I catch myself whenever I say it. It is best to have a path laid out. So for a ceremony process, I talk about the chem check. Yesterday I sat down with a couple who are considering hiring me. Their wedding's in August, and I laid out for them the process. I've talked about this live. I talked about this at Wedding MBA. There you go, Mike, take your shot. That was part of my speech. How you want to clearly say to your couple, here is what it entails when you work with me. When you hire me, we're going to do this, then we're going to do that, then I'll send you this, then this is going to happen, this and that. And it's a very clear path. Okay, so again, one-off for a friend or relative, you want to have that path laid out. You want to know the process, the steps, and where you're going. That's why I lay out the course by saying, very clearly conduct a thorough workshop, and then create the script, and then send the forms, and then write the story, right? So you want to be organized, and I am not an organized person by nature. As I get older, I feel like that's a tertiary skill, not even secondary, but it has been developed. A lot of you who are a part of the course would be surprised by this, but that is because back in 2015, when I really started leaning into this and officiating for more and more couples, I said, I got to get organized. I got to have a process that I can replicate. And then when I thought, how am I going to teach this to others? Well, again, it has to be a very clear, organized, linear process. And so I'm able to do that when I was making that turn in Toronto, say, well, what is my process? What you just sit down and examine it and say, yeah, what is the A to Z? I almost caught myself and changed it. But I'm going to keep saying Z because that's what Canadians say, whether we are a 51st state or not. Couldn't help myself with that either. Uh, A to Z, what is the process? Laying it out, 1, 2, 3, 4, and can I describe that? And is it the best? You want to keep streamlining that, right? You want to remove friction. I've done that for customers in Unboring Wedding Academy. I've done that with my couples. When I sit down in a chem check with them, or a vibe check, and I say, here's what it's like to work with me, I explain the why. I only need to sit down with you 4 to 6 weeks before the day for 1 hour. I don't want this to be a burden for you. I don't want this to be difficult for you. You got lots of vendors, you got lots of plans. So when I hear sometimes when officiants say I sit down and have 3 or 4 face-to-face meetings and I send them this survey and that questionnaire and then I want this and that, just think about what it's like to be in your couple's shoes. One thing I once heard was, never have a meeting that could be an email, right? And so it's similar where don't have a step that can just be in another step. Make it as streamlined as possible. So try this year if you're not, and again, it hasn't been, I'm not preaching in the sense of, well, I'm an organized person and you should be too. It has been a challenge for me. I know what it's like to say, okay, typically I'm not organized. If you opened up my wardrobe in my bedroom, you would see I aspire to nice crisp piles of jeans, piles of sweaters, piles of t-shirts, but over time they just get all jumbled up and I need to keep coming back every couple of months and resorting things. And my wife knows about my controlled piles of chaos around the house. When you live with somebody, it's maybe easier to curtail some of these bad habits. But figure out what your process is going to be. If you're a member of Unboring Wedding Academy and take that course, it's laid out for you. If you're not, just say, what is my process going to be for my couple? What is the order in which I'm going to do things? And does it make sense? This doesn't need to take long. 10, 15 minutes sitting down with a pen and paper or, your phone, word processor, whatever. And when it comes to couples, if you want to land couples, you need to keep your ceremonies organized somehow in Google Files, Google Folders. When you describe the process to your couple, what is the client journey, right? So this is going to entail a few different aspects of whether it's ceremony, whether it's client, whether it's payment, but figure out that A to Z linear journey. You need to be organized to be a top officiant. If you're not, you're going to be scattered. People are going to feel frustrated and you won't be able to do the next step. So number 2 then, if number 1 is organized, number 2 is you need to be responsive. You need to respond to inquiries. Again, if you are doing this professionally and you get an inquiry, respond as quickly as you can. When I was growing my business in Toronto, whenever a couple would inquire, I would try to get back to them within an hour or two, which meant having a template on my phone. If I got out of a subway station and I got an inquiry, again, I was hungry. I really wanted to pay the rent and buy groceries with this. I would stop what I was doing, kind of go into my templates, copy. This was before Gmail was as good as it is now. Now you can have top templates built right into Gmail. But I would go to like my notes app, select all, copy, paste it into the reply, change the names and stuff. Hey, I'm so glad you are getting married on September 4th. Thank you for considering me. But the rest was pretty standard. I always meet. I've talked about this here before. I meet at the Whole Foods at Yonge and Shepherd. I'd love to meet you there. Here's kind of the any questions you have. We'll talk about them then. I was responsive because stats have shown that, of course, you're going to get scooped if you're a wedding professional and you take your time too long replying. Well, if 3 officiants reply before you do, they're gonna likely reply to those officiants. So I always wanted to be among the first to reply. So that's the case of trying to grow a business. You need to be responsive, and every other step along the way. If a couple has a question, has a concern, there is nothing more frustrating than being a professional and all the things I've done, building the Love Story Caster, building efficiently, dealing with vendors, having a lot at stake, a lot on the line, sometimes thousands and thousands of dollars. If you send an email out to somebody you're doing business with and you don't hear back for 5, 6, 7 days, you start to get worried. And you never want your client to feel worried. You never want your couple to feel worried, whether or not they're paying you. If you're a friend or relative, you don't want your couple to feel worried about you. They've got enough to worry about. So that's just one of those things. You won't be a top officiant if your couple can't say in their reviews, look at some of the best reviews. Go Google Unboring Wedding and look at my reviews and what couples say. And some of the amazing officiants in our community, Unboring Wedding Academy. You go look at their reviews, and this is what couples say: we felt so at ease. We knew that our officiant they were so responsive. You see, word cloud, kind of Google reviews does this, where often they single out words that recur in the reviews, and responsive or responsiveness in the Wedding Wire reviews. That's one of their criteria where you can rate on a scale of 1 to 5. You want responsiveness to be high up there, because that's how the couple is going to feel really good that you've got this. Okay, so like I say, whether that's a first inquiry, whether that's a question, a concern, the script needs to be updated, we need to make a change, we had our workshop, but somebody has gotten sick, or if your couple reaches out to you, get back to them. Sometimes, even if you're saying, okay, I'm going to take care of it. Even if you need to reply and just say, I'm going to send you a better answer tomorrow. It really means a lot to me, and always has, to get back to your client. And as somebody who is a guide for 1,500 plus people in Unboring Wedding Academy, and all those customers, if you're a member of this community, Jen and I, we make it a point to get back to you really, really quickly as we can, especially if you can't log in or something like that. And that has, I believe that has largely contributed to some of the success that I've experienced, is being responsive. Okay, so first, you want to be organized, then you want to be responsive. And this is how one feeds into the other. The more organized you are, the more responsive you can be, and the more thoughtful you can be when you do respond, because you will have already decided your process. You will know where you're going to end up, whether that's the script journey, the ceremony journey, the client journey professionally. You want to be responsive. The third thing is, and this is might be an interesting one, but you want to be, I'm sorry if this is not your thing, you want to be tech familiar. Okay, I've got to say it. You don't have to be tech savvy necessarily. A lot of folks who purchase Unboring Wedding Academy, one of the first things they get back to me after I shoot them that personal welcome video is they say, I'm not tech savvy. And I've worked really hard to make it simple with Google tools, Google Docs, Google Forms, Google Sheets, with screen flows of how to do. If you're brand new to the world of Google, I've wanted to make it super simple for you. But friend, you will not be a top wedding officiant if you are not at least tech familiar. Okay, like I say, you don't necessarily have to be tech savvy, but in this world of incredible apps and tools, you need to, whether it's email or the scripts, you are not going to get away with writing the wedding script in pen on a legal pad, taking photos of it and mailing it to your couple or something. I don't know. You need to have a basic tech familiarity or openness to using tech. Like I said, whether it's your first time, you're just doing this for a friend or relative, this is in my book. This is on some articles I've written. You want to create the script in some sort of shareable software, whether that's Word docs, and then go to Word, Microsoft Word, where you go and you do the collaboration thing. That's a bit complicated and clunky in my opinion. Google Docs, you just write your script in there, click share, put your couple's email address in it so they can see it as well. Obviously, I've just developed a whole officiant app called Efficiently. It will be available more widely this year. That really tries to simplify it, but of course, you need to log in and use the interface for wedding workshops, all the details. So whether it's just writing really good emails, and like I said, I use that example of how quickly I would want to respond to a couple, and how having a previously crafted email in a template and selecting that and pasting that in so I could reply to them as quickly as possible. That's an example of tech, right? That's an example of how using that tool to the best that I could. Now, of course, like I said, Google drop down templates, you reply, you change some things. You don't want to be inventing the wheel, writing the email wheel from scratch every time. That will really, really bog you down. So there's lots of ways that being tech friendly or tech familiar is going to serve you when you are a top wedding officiant. Like I say, the more proficient you are with tech, the better chance you have. I heard of Bonjoro years and years ago. That is where, I just sort of, it's, when somebody, you can type an email address in and shoot a video from your phone and then send it to that person. Well, I started doing that from the very first course that I sold, Unboring Wedding Academy. Hi there, so thrilled you purchased, et cetera, et cetera. Every one of you who's purchased a course gets that video from me. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Karen. Hi, Jane. And that is an example of connecting right away with a client. And I know some of you have taken that idea from purchasing the course and done it with your own couples to an inquiry, which I think is really cool. Hi there. Thank you for choosing me to inquire. You could even just say, I've shot you a more detailed email, but I just wanted to connect and say, I'm really thrilled. Congrats on getting married. That's the kind of thing. You don't have to do that. But if you are kind of a tech agnostic and just saying, well, it's not my thing, I don't really engage it, you're going to have a tougher time in an increasingly technical world that, with apps and AI and things like that. So adopting these things, and I did say this with trepidation, I thought, is this part really necessary? It feels a bit like tough love. I wish I could say it doesn't matter. You don't need the tech. But when we're talking about people getting married, we're talking about 20 somethings, not to the exclusion of 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s somethings people. We've all married older people when we are professionals, but you do have the 20 somethings getting married, and they have a certain expectation. I'm getting more inquiries now through the DMs. The couple that I did a chem check with yesterday, the bride initially reached out to me on Facebook Messenger. My couple before that was Instagram. And so I'm not a fan of taking inquiries through DMs and private messages on an app. That said, I'm not going to turn it away. One thing that I would recommend to you is when I get an inquiry that way, of course, I'm very personable. Hey, so glad. Thanks for reaching out. When's your date? I'll often ask for the availability right there. But then I still will ask them, because it's not hard, can you inquire through my website just so we can officially get it on file and reply to you in an email? And I send them the link to the inquiry form on my website. And you know what a fan I am of a really well-designed inquiry page, if you've heard me talk about this at all. In fact, Unboring Wedding Academy.com/website, we do offer a website service, kind of a starter website for you to get going. And the inquiry page is one of those things. That's one of the 5 important ingredients that we've built in there. Wedding date, wedding time, wedding venue, not just a contact form. So that's where I want couples to go to that and inquire officially through the inquiry page, so that when I get the email, I don't have to ask them, okay, when is it? If, they might not know. In fact, many couples don't know to say, I'm getting married on this date, at this time, at this venue. They just say, hey, are you available? And then you have to say, well, I need more details, because maybe you're busy that weekend, or you want to know if the wedding's close or far. This is another example of tech familiarity. I knew early on in Toronto, I need those details first before I even get an inquiry. I need to know when, where, what time. Those things are really important. So whether it's shooting a video on Bonjoro, whether it's using AI, again, I developed the Love Story Caster, which uses AI, but it took about 100 hours to create the recipe to write the love story. The more familiar you are, and I built that for myself, and then thought, well, I know the Unboring Wedding Academy community would love this. Trying to eliminate the flashing cursor and the blank screen as much as I can, and then sharing it with all of you. But tech friendliness, tech familiarity will help you. It'll be your friend. Okay. And so again, there were so many great answers in the qualities of a wedding officiant that, I couldn't be here all day, but these are the 5 that I really think are essential. So we have organized, we have responsive, we have tech familiar, and I did see confident. Confident would be my number 4. Okay. This is why confidence is so important if you're going to be a top wedding officiant. Is couples, we as wedding officiants are stepping into a highly stressful time for a lot of couples. And even if you're thinking, well, I just do elopements or signings, it's not stressful. Great. I'm glad. That's not a stressful environment, but you still need to exude a measure of confidence and that what you're doing, even if it's a simple signing, even if you're just legalizing papers. There are going to be red flags shooting. And just think of any professional you hire, a dentist. If you walk in and your dentist is like, I'm not too, bantering with the dental hygienist, maybe. I'm not too sure about this one. I'm a little nervous about this procedure. You are going to freak out and maybe walk out of that office, right? And so, this is one of the things I look for. I think I'm going to do an upcoming topic for a show here is what I look for when I'm doing coaching calls, particularly with people who don't purchase Unboring Wedding Academy. I do have a quick wham bam kind of procrastinator package or quick help package. So a lot of times I jump on the phone with those folks and I read their script. Because I do say in the course not to do this, but they don't get the course. So that, an officiant that steps up, I see this in a lot of scripts where they say in the opening remarks, hello everyone, I'm so thrilled to be here for my first wedding officiating gig. I'm really nervous, but I'm really excited, and I always say, nope, delete that, get rid of that. That's okay to write that in your first draft to get it out, but do not tell the crowd essentially that you're nervous and that it's your first time and you hope this goes well. Your fingers are crossed. They might as well cross theirs too. That kind of thing. No. So even when you're up there, you need to be confident. And this goes to, what you do not need to be. I will wrap this up by emphasizing to you what I did not say you need to be. That's very important. The qualities you do not need to be a top officiant. But confidence is one of them. Whatever your personality, okay? And that's what I mean by we're going to talk about what you don't need to be. So maybe your personality is quiet. Maybe your personality is very charismatic or huge or larger than life or loud. Doesn't matter. You need to be confident, okay? And so that, whether it's your first time and your couple has asked you, you're the cousin, a couple of you said you're just about to officiate your first, even if it's a friend or relative, when you tell them the process, this is again part of being organized, is I confidently know where I'm going to take you. Yesterday, in order to pitch myself to that couple who was, considering whether or not to hire me, I laid out the process and I'm confident about those steps. I said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have this meeting for it. It's only going to be an hour because of this. And I will arrive and then I will write your story. Here's what that looks like. Okay. And that has nothing to do with your personality, introvert, extrovert, shy, quiet, loud. It's just saying, here's what I'm doing, and I know why I'm doing it. A lot of you mentioned that about Unboring Wedding Academy. You love the way the course is structured in the sense of I start every stage of the teaching by saying, here's why I'm teaching this part, here's the outcome for you, and here's the outcome for your couple. I am very outcomes driven. I do not like doing anything that doesn't need to be done. What is the reason for this? What is the purpose? What's the why? Why are we doing this? What is the outcome? Is it beneficial? Is it good? Is it helpful? Do we need to be doing this? That's the kind of thing where if you've answered those questions in your mind, you are confident. Why am I doing opening remarks with the guests? Well, the reason is to break the fourth wall, to get them to relax, to get them to feel like they can participate, and to pull them into the experience with the couple. Every single thing you do, you want to know why, you want to be clear on the outcomes, and that will help you exude confidence. Like I say, so this does apply to first timers. Be confident about being a guide, be a few steps ahead of your couple, know where you're going, and you can be confident. If you're a professional, and you're having a chem check, a couple hasn't hired you yet, they're just feeling it out. Well, you want to say, here's the process. I want to explain to you the process of A to Z from now till August 24th or whatever it is. Here's where we're going. Okay. And then when you get there on the wedding day, I talk about this at the rehearsal. There might be all kinds of chaos breaking out around you. People, I've gotten to weddings, the bride is crying, vendors are swearing, guests are scandalized, and you just show up and you are this calm, confident presence. That's how I wrap up the course. Spoiler alert: on the wedding day, you can be an eye of the storm, which is ironic, right? Because you're the one who goes to the front in the ceremony. You should be the most nervous as the wedding officiant. I'm not going to lie, but you're not, because you put so much work and effort into that wedding script. I talk about, I cannot wait. When I've written a great script, I can't wait to get up there and read it and just be that calm presence. And so I'm confident. I know what I'm doing. I know why I'm doing it. And there's no reason for me to freak out. In fact, you can help. You can be a coach. The degree to which you want to participate in some of that chaos. Some officiants say, I just stand off to the side and I don't get involved. And that's fine, because your job is to do the ceremony. Others say, I get in, I help the best I can. Some officiants have a little kit with them. If you need needle and thread, I've got that. Okay. So again, that's all building part of your confidence. And then when your couple is confident in you, oh my gosh, they are going to sing your praises from the rooftops on the other side of the wedding day. So confidence is one of those essential ingredients. There's lots of good ones that you said in the chat. I mean, when I see honesty and integrity, things like that, I mean, those are indispensable, of course. But to be a top officiant, you really do need to be confident. Don't go in there, it's my first time, I'm not sure I hope this works out. If you hire, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to write some sort of script, but we'll see. No, don't do that. Be confident. And when you have a process, when you've already done the first few here, when you are organized and responsive and tech familiar, you can be confident. When you've written a great script, you can arrive on the wedding day fully confident that all you have to do is read this thing, and it's going to bring the house down. Your couple's going to be thrilled. The last one might feel a little bit more gushy, a little bit more one of those soft skills. But here it is, because I did think, what is the ingredient of a great customer service experience? So whether it is your bestie that you're officiating for, or whether it's someone who's given you $1,000 to officiate their wedding and you've only met them once, what is it that gives them that feeling that they are so glad they chose you, in addition to the other four things? They'll be able to say, oh my gosh, our officiant was so confident, so responsive, they were organized, they were they sent us a script that we could also sign on. It was great. It wasn't like a cocktail napkin or legal pad, right? They're going to be happy that you used some tech. But when I think of the best experiences I have had at a hotel or with some sort of professional service, number 5 is fascinated. Yeah, I'm going to let that land. Fascinated. A really top wedding officiant is somebody who is fascinated by and with the couple, and fascinated from the guests, and fascinated about the couple's wedding party if they have one, fascinated by the vendors they work with, fascinated with the venue that they are going to be showing up at. I don't care if it's a public park or a city hall or a golf club that costs $10,000 to rent out, 50,000, whatever it is. A wedding officiant who is fascinated by their clients and the people that their clients love and the story that their clients have. And then when they stand up in front of those people and with those people and feel just fascinated to be a part of this incredible process, people are going to feel that from you, and you are going to enjoy what you do so much more. And so, I think of positive examples of where, working with people, they clearly are fascinated with me, my journey, what I do. Maybe some of that is put on. Maybe it's just one of those things that, you kind of smile until you feel like smiling. Maybe you want to say, I'm going to be fascinated this year until I am fascinated. But I can promise you that I did say all of these things can be learned, even if they're not necessarily natural for you. But the more fascinated you are when a couple reaches out to you and says, we're in love, we're getting married, and you say, oh my gosh, like, how did this happen? Tell me about it. Tell me about your wedding day. What are your plans? What are your, right down to the, why did you choose that color? Why did you choose that venue? Have you chosen any vendors yet, right? I talk in Unboring Wedding Pro. I teach exactly how to go through the chem check process with a new couple. So yesterday I got them talking, and I was genuinely fascinated. Turns out, the groom, they had been at a wedding that I officiated, and then they mentioned, oh, Chris and Danielle. I was like, oh yes, at Ticklebelly Hill. That was what a beautiful day. When you are fascinated, you'll call things to mind. You'll ask better questions. You will enjoy working with people and enjoy the process. I think of the worst experience I ever had, which was at like a mountain resort hotel, and the owner clearly hated guests. The owner could not stand that I brought my family there and paid hundreds and hundreds of dollars and wanted breakfast. Right? He just wanted us the heck. He didn't like people. He didn't like his guests. He didn't. And so again, you think of positive experiences that are on the other end, where people are so thrilled, they're so fascinated. Well, tell me about your family. Why are you here? Not in a creepy or over invasive way, but you really get a sense. I've had Airbnb hosts who are checking us in and just saying, "Oh my gosh, we want you to become. What brings you to Costa Rica? Why are you here? Tell me, how often have you been here? Oh my God, what do you like to do? Oh well, I can recommend some places." Think of the market difference that you feel when someone is clearly fascinated with you and providing a service for you as best they can, being your guide, being that confident person, that organized person who can help you along, versus somebody who's treating you like you're inconvenient, right? Like you're a headache. Even if you can mask the fact that you're not fascinated, you'll still come off as aloof at the very best, I believe. And so this quality of saying, I'm going to choose to be really fascinated in the people, even the difficulties. I've officiated in backyard weddings where the whole family is coming unglued 15 minutes before the ceremony, and then it's start time, and then it's 20 minutes late. And you can still, this is why I like this word, even in the negative instances, even when things are going south, you can still be fascinated. I often say this. I often just say fascinating when something is not going well, not going right, not going the way you would want it to. You can still be fascinated. And so I think that's going to bring that extra edge to your officiating, to your practice, whether you are a first timer. You're going to be fascinated. You're going to write a better story. You're going to want to serve your couple really well if they're just a friend or relative. You're doing this one time. Or in 2025, if you're looking at booking more couples, connecting with vendors. I talk about going to wedding shows as a wedding officiant. Get in there, talk to vendors, be fascinated by your colleagues. What brought you into photography? What made you a planner? Oh my gosh, you get to a wedding, you say to the planner, this is incredible what you put on here. The place settings, you show up at a venue and it's an owner of a barn venue, like I've mentioned Ticklebelly Hill, and you talk to that person, say, this is absolutely beautiful, this place you've provided. Tell me the story. It'll just help you have better conversations. It'll help you have better first impressions. It'll make people want to work with you more. Okay? So I don't want to beat that dead horse. Organized, responsive, tech familiar, confident, and fascinated. And note what I didn't say. You do not need to be bombastic. You do not need to be funny. You do not need to be a big personality who entertains people and loves being at the front and loves being the center of attention. You don't need to be any of those things to be a top wedding officiant. That's what's really important to me about the way I've structured Unboring Wedding Academy is I want this to be applicable to everybody, to anybody. People find their way to me, and I'm very humble when they say, "Look, I'm very humbled when they say I'm not a big person. I actually am not excited to be the center of attention." I say, write a great script. Write a great script. Stand there, read it. Uh, Tell the couple's story. You can still connect with guests at the beginning of a ceremony with great opening remarks. Are you excited for Sam and Alex to get married? You can just ask a question like that, very quietly, very down to earth. The loud guests will take care of things for you. But thankfully, you do not need to carry being a great wedding officiant on the back of your big personality. And there are videos out there on YouTube or other people who say, like, here's how I do it. And they're just huge personalities. And you think I could never do that. I'm not charismatic like that. You don't have to be. And that's not on the list. That's not what makes a top wedding officiant. You don't have to be doing crowd work. You don't have to be engaging. Those officiants are doing that in their way. And, I know I ride on the coattails of my charisma to some degree, so I get that. But everything that I bring to you, I want it to be something you can learn. I want it to be a skill you can develop and foster. And so that's why I do say, when I think about how I developed my business, organization, that's something I had to learn. Being responsive, that's something I had to learn. I was hungry and I wanted to do as quickly as I could, which is why I became tech familiar. And I became an early adopter on things like Bonjoro, an app where I could just shoot a video and send it to somebody, or Gmail when I saw how much they are increasing what they offer. And that's why I use that in my course. It's simple, but it's very sophisticated, easy to use, but very engaging in the sense of I want to be able to share it with my couple. I need them to be able to see it. I need them to be able to access things and comment. And then confident. Because I know when someone's not confident, again, if they get up at the front and say, I'm about to make a presentation, but it's my first time, right away you feel like, oh, you're nervous for them, you're scared for them. And that's why I say, don't introduce that idea. I'm not even going to say fake it till you make it, because when you have a great script, you don't need to fake it. You just need to read it. So read it till you're confident and then fascinate it. That idea that when I thought, how am I going to have longevity, years and years of doing this and building something, just decide you're going to really love people and their stories, even when things are disappointing, even when you have that inevitable difficult client who didn't get you, client who wants their money back, leaves a bad review. You can still just say fascinating and be fascinated in 2025. All right, hopefully this was helpful. Went the full hour. Thank you so much for joining. I want to see what I've missed in the chat. Probably a whole lot of stuff. Any questions here? Some of you are just saying to me now, fascinating. That's fine. Yep, good. You're learning from you're learning from this session. That's absolutely awesome. Okay, so thanks a lot, Mike. These are excellent qualities. Yep, and again, not necessarily an exhaustive list. So many. Have honesty, have integrity. I'm kind of scrolling back up to what all the great things that I was: professional, detail-oriented, trustworthy, reliable, communicative, caring, personable, passionate, all that stuff, open, inclusive. That's so good. And so be all those things. See if you can work those into my 5. And the list could probably be 10. But look at that. It took me an hour just to get through 5. But like I say, I really did think about, all those things where I think were a given to me: being inclusive, being open, being trustworthy. I'm going to bring that to basically any venture I get into, whether it's being a member of a board or a student or whatever. But what were the 5 things that I felt to be a wedding officiant and the top wedding officiant, someone that people can look to and refer openly and recommend without hesitation and reservation? Those 5 will probably be a very good orientation for you this year in 2025. Okay. Thank you so much, Opie. Glad that was a good refresher for you. Just what you need going into the new year. So thrilled to hear it. Tamara, man, that warms my heart. You feel like you can conquer anything after these sessions. Well, go out there. It's just Wednesday. You got 2 more days before the weekend to go out and conquer everything. Uh, so thank you so much. Always be learning and improving. Jane says that's what fascinates me so much about all of you is you spend this time with me. I continue to learn, continue to stretch myself, continue to take risks when it comes to things I'm offering and ways that I'm serving, and making mistakes and unhappy with how hard things are sometimes. We're working out efficiently here. That was a huge risk. I continue to talk about developing that in our community for those 130 people who are testing it out and using it, and early adopters. Really appreciate them. But we can always be learning and listening, as Opie said, being a great learner, being a great listener. And so when you do that with your couples and when you do that with your clients, really, to me, you can only be anything but successful. But continue to define what success means for you, so you're not walking around always feeling dissatisfied. Super important. Thank you so much. It's been an hour. Loved spending this with you. Love your comments as you chit chat back and forth with each other. I often go back and read the comments in the chat when the sessions are done. So I really, really appreciate you helping each other and engaging with each other. It's always a pleasure for me. See you next Wednesday. I guess it'll be episode 9, where we will do this all over again. Have a wonderful week, a wonderful weekend for those of you who are officiating ceremonies. And as we always say, see you then and marry on. Have a good one.